Recently, members of the Democratic Party got together with Nancy Pelosi in a series of Monday night meetings to encourage her to pursue an impeachment inquiry. Based on reporting from the New York Times, there is some conflict and some disagreement as to whether or not this makes a lot of sense. But today, the former White House counsel, Don McGahn, defied a congressional subpoena. He did not show up to testify. And it appears that McGahn has decided to listen to what Trump wants as opposed to what the law requires him to do. Now, I give you that context to just keep in mind as I give you the details of this story. According to according to Washington Post, at least 5 members of Pelosi's leadership team, 4 of whom also sit on the House Judiciary Committee with jurisdiction over impeachment, pressed Pelosi in a closed-door leadership meeting to allow the panel to start an inquiry. And I just want to note that an impeachment inquiry is different from impeachment proceedings. An impeachment inquiry doesn't necessarily mean that it will evolve into impeachment proceedings, but it's an inquiry. It's getting the process started to really determine whether or not this makes sense. They argue that it would help investigators attain documents and testimony that Trump has blocked. Now, Pelosi and her supporters countered that argument by saying, no, we need to let this go through the court system. We already had a district court judge rule in our favor, ensuring to uphold a subpoena for Trump's financial records. Let's not take this any further than we need to go. It's an unpopular position to pursue impeachment. Again, this is an argument coming from Pelosi and her supporters. And let's focus on what we need to get done legislatively, which is hilarious because what have Democrats done legislatively so far? And I'm not talking about freshman Democrats who actually have done things. I'm talking about Democratic leadership. So I have more details, but I want to open it up to the panel.
I mean, I don't think she's done nothing. There was the Equal Rights Amendment, or the Equality Act, I believe that
did pass in the House. Yes,
it did pass in the House. That's huge. That's under Pelosi's watch. But again, I think we're seeing exactly what I think a lot of us foresaw when Pelosi became Speaker of the House once again, which was to establish some sort of normalcy and to essentially put a lid on the more progressive wing of her party. And these aren't even progressives. These are people in her own, these are her own advisors who are saying that. And like with her San Francisco, man, she represents one of the most progressive left countries cities in this country. And this is the person who's holding back the tide. I mean, I agree that I don't think that we should impeach over something silly like, I don't know, extramarital affairs. But if there's a time to impeach, it is absolutely now. And I think the analysis of that Mehdi Hasan, for example, or The Intercept has floated that there are so many other reasons to impeach this president beyond like the Russia involvement.
You have to say it. So there's a preview of things coming. So we talk about the approach that Nancy Pelosi's had. It sounds similar to what Mitt Romney was saying. Hey, you know what? Maybe not, but then maybe so. But then also the political climate isn't gonna allow that to happen. It's a preview of the way the Democrats generally tend to run things once they have this control. They're like, well, let's not do too much because we're gonna worry people. Do what you're doing and then make your case. Just speak on it. So as you're talking about, people will get confused as what an impeachment inquiry would be versus an impeachment proceedings. And then people will get confused about the reasons why they're doing it. They could go into the 17 to 18 other reasons why there's a reason to impeach this president outside of the no collusion stuff that they're talking about. If they make a case and talk about what they're doing and why they're doing it over and over and over and over and over again, maybe it'll start penetrating a few minds and people won't be so worried about the implications for 2020. Because how many times have we heard since the Mueller report came out, no collusion, no collusion, no collusion. We've heard nothing else from it because no one else is talking about everything else that had to do with it. And actually outside of the Mueller report, things he's just doing in office, you don't even have to go to that.
Right.
So there are Democrats who are speaking out, including, of course, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is arguing in favor of an impeachment inquiry. Here she is making that case.
You know, I trust the Speaker is taking a measured approach to ensure that we're moving everyone forward. I know that being a Speaker is hard. Holding this party together is a difficult task, but I think that we have to do. I personally believe that I think we have to move forward.
Thank you. So there's AOC saying, look, being speaker is a difficult task. I totally understand that, but we need to move forward. A very diplomatic way of approaching it, and I applaud her for her diplomacy because that is not an easy thing to do, I'd argue. And then you have Representative Ted Deutsch, a Democrat from Florida. I want to give you his quote. We should be having the conversation about how this will help us break through the stonewalling of the administration. If the answer by the administration is, quote, no, you can't talk to anyone, you can't have anything, we're simply not going to cooperate, then at that point, the only avenue that we have left is the constitutional means to enforce the separation of powers, which is a serious discussion of impeachment. And I could not agree more. And just to really emphasize a point that was made by both of you, look, it's not just about Russian meddling, okay? The Mueller report did clear him of collusion, but it did not clear him of obstruction of justice. And besides which, even aside from obstruction of justice, all of these potential financial crimes are serious. You know, the possible violation of the emoluments clause, these conflicts of interest, the fact that his own personal lawyer for years, Michael Cohen, had testified that Trump inflated his assets in order to obtain loans from Deutsche Bank and then deflated his assets in order to save on taxes. That is tax fraud. These are serious crimes. And the fact that you have Democrats who have no backbone on this issue is just infuriating. We need to see strength from the Democratic Party, and I would argue that Speaker Pelosi should just sit down and really think about how Republicans would handle this if the shoe were on the other foot.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I also just want to say that it cleared what we know, the unredacted or the redacted Mueller report. We know that it cleared him of collusion, but we also know collusion is not actually a legal term.
Right.
So conspiracy would be more the term, but actually, like, I would say there is a hell of a lot of cooperation between the Trump campaign and many different Russians and things that we actually don't know. And now I think this week, you know, I for one I'm very happy that the 5 current and 5 former Deutsche Bank employees are speaking to the media about money laundering flags that were raised connected to Jared Kushner and the Trump organization's payments to people in Russia. And now they're speaking out about it. Follow the money. And that's why he is trying to subpoena or trying to censure Deutsche Bank for not speaking to Congress, right? Because he knows that once we follow the money, oh, hey, maybe it's all right there.
Yep.
And I think the other thing about impeachment, and to me, it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter if it will get voted down by the Senate majority, which is Republican, right? To me, it goes back to, you know, when Obama came into office and said, you know what, let bygones be bygones. Let's not investigate what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan. Let's not look into war crimes. Let's not look into the violations of the Geneva Conventions that the United States did partake in when it waterboarded prisoners. Let's not look at Guantanamo, and I don't want that.
Right.
Whoever comes in 2020, and let's hope it's a Democrat, right? I don't want there to be a, hey, you know what? Let bygones be bygones. No. All the norms that the Trump administration is breaking, we need to make those laws come 2020. Yep. All the things. Absolutely. Right now, we have an Office of Government Ethics. You guys, did you know that we had one? That dude, his name is Walter Schaub. He resigned after Trump came into the White House over the emoluments clause because he's like, honestly, I don't even know what I'm doing here anymore. And mind you, this is the Office of Government Ethics, like, has very little. They hardly raise a peep out of anything. I mean, like, Congress is allowed to lobby on behalf of corporations that they just got off the board of. You know, like, there's just a lot that goes under his, you know, that slides under his radar. And this dude resigned over the Trump administration. Come on, what are we doing?
And I leave you with this. The White House, as we know, is trying to block all of these subpoenas and these investigations, and it's hard to keep track of all of them. How many have there been, and how many has the White House tried to block? According to the Washington Post, the White House is blocking more than 20 Democratic investigations into Trump, his finances, or his policies.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.